Hello again, MMA fans. I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I am joined by the latest notable signing from the UFC by ONE Championship. At 9-1 as a heavyweight, there are big hopes for him to be a major addition to the ONE heavyweight division, as well as a likely key part of the promotion's expansion into India. He makes his promotional debut at the massive ONE Championship Century event on the Part 2 portion of the card on October 13. He is the man known as Singh, but you can also call him Arjan Bhullar. Arjan, thanks for talking to me tonight. So close to this upcoming ONE debut.
Thank you. Great to be here, Jason. Very excited to dive into some of these questions and excited for the debut.
All right, cool. Thank you. Now, so before we get to this fight with Sorrell you have coming up, I wanted to talk about, your decision to leave the UFC and sign with ONE. I recently had a conversation with Michael Schiavello, and we talked about you. And he mentioned a conversation he had with you recently at a ONE event where you explained to him the UFC did not have plans for India, where ONE, especially after this new TV deal with Star Sports, have big plans for India. Could you confirm that for me and just go into depth on why this was an important factor for you in deciding to sign with ONE Championship?
Confirmed. What went to our decision making. For me personally, for my brand, it's the Indian market. That's what makes sense. That's why, that's what excites me, aside from being a world champion, to compete, is to break that market and lead the way. The UFC has no plans for that. They don't even have an Indian within the company. We're talking staffer all the way up to an executive. There's no one.
Wow.
And over at ONE, and one of the, owners is Indian. His name is, and he's from the north. So, which is, where I'm from. So met with him. They made an incredible offer. They sat down with me. Hey, these are our plans, not only for you, but for India. Sign for Star Sports, which is the biggest platform for sports in the country. Cricket's on there. The UFC's on a separate platform called Sony. They're not even on the biggest platform.
Wow.
So they know what they're doing. And aside from that, also, Indian market and India excites me, but even worldwide, they're expanding to the U.S. in the coming year as well.
Mm-hmm.
Live on TNT, home of all elite wrestling. And a big guy. So I'm excited for both of those markets. I think I could definitely add value.
What was your free agency process like? Because that's a big thing now, more so than, say, 4 or 5 years ago. Fighters can really go out into free agency, test the market, and test their value. I remember talking to Eddie Alvarez. He said every fighter should go out there and test their value. That's the only way to get the most money for yourself, because your value was so strong going onto the market at this point. Did your management get contacted by many promotions? Did organizations like Bellator, PFL at all come into play in your final decision at all, or it was kind of ONE jumped out right away from the start?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in free agency, definitely. That's the only way you know your worth. That's the only way you're able to leverage your worth. And at the end of the day, if you want to sign with a company that's paying you less than what the market value is for you, at least right? Yeah. There's no other job in the world where your employer sets your value, saying, I'm going to pay X, and that's it. So if we're going to be, open market, let's be open market. Yes, we were in contact with obviously Bellator, ONE, UFC. UFC's was a standard contract. They offer everyone after the first one expires. Wasn't over the top, and just ONE was, but also because I'm bringing value to the table for them, because of the markets we talked about, India being the main one, obviously the US. It made sense for both of us. Eddie, from what I understand, he had a great offer, obviously, from ONE, which he went with. The UFC did make him a pretty big offer as well, but they couldn't come close to matching what ONE did. And essentially, his conversation with the company, with the UFC, went, if we pay you that, we have to pay everyone that kind of money. And we're not that antitrust lawsuit coming out. They only give him 20% of revenue, so wow. That's their business.
When when you got your offer from the UFC, was it even a substantial raise? Was it a raise at all? Was it a small raise? Was it almost an offensive amount? What was there from their view, from what they were offering you? Was it did they give an impression like they were not going to try hard to keep you there? Is that the impression you got?
Yeah, it was you kind of cut out at the end of the question. If you can repeat that again.
Yeah, when you got an offer from the UFC, did it come off like were they coming off like they were trying really hard to make sure that you stayed there, or did they kind of give an impression like they weren't too into the Arjan Bhullar business after this?
No, for sure. I mean, market aside, obviously, I had a winning record in the UFC. Even the fight I lost, I was dominating every second of the fight. I got caught in a sub, but every second of the fight, I was winning. I was winning all the rounds. Train at AK, Olympic credentials, striking now as well. I'm a total package. Doesn't matter what company I'm with. But at the same time, because they're not going into that market or looking to go into that market, Russia is their priority. That's those guys within that market. They're going above and beyond to make sure they're taken care of. For me, it was a standard offer because it's a standard situation. So with one, like I said, they came in over the top because I'm able to lend them added value for their plans as a company.
Now, this fight coming up with Cerelli was originally set for August, but, he had a staph infection, it was canceled. Instead, you now get to compete on what is the new biggest, card in one championship history after they just had the first biggest with a new era. In a way, do you feel like things maybe worked out for the best and now a lot more eyeballs will be on you and your debut and being a part of this card? Or is there still some frustration in a way because, if you would have fought in August, it would have probably give you a really good chance to fight at least one more time this year. Now fighting October, fighting this year again is kind of iffy.
Yeah, all of the above. Obviously, it would have been good to get another one in before the end of the year. I want to stay more active. Yeah. In my contract, I'm guaranteed more fights than I was in the UFC. That was another big one. The UFC is giving me 2 fights a year. I'm not busy enough, for where I'm at to one, climb that ladder, and two, make money winning. Time is time. You lose that time. You're not maximizing your time within the sport as a competitive athlete. So. Aside from that, though, yes, everything worked out, I guess the way it's supposed to. I'm on the biggest card in MMA history, 2 cards in one day,
yep.
1 century. Forget about everything's lining up beautifully. You know what? I've competed in over 30 countries as an athlete around the world. Japan wasn't one of them. So, off my bucket list as well, which I'm excited to do.
Awesome. So Cerelli fought Vera for the heavyweight title a couple years ago, and it didn't go well for him. He has since bounced back. He's looking to get 2 wins in a row, try to get himself slowly back into contention. He likes to stand and throw some heavy strikes. With your wrestling background, it seems like a clear-cut strategy. The victory for you is taken down. Is the plan to test his wrestling, or are you willing to test things on the feet, and see how things go for a bit?
Yeah, he has a judo background initially. Then he came into MMA. He likes to throw heat, like you said. When you throw heat, you also leave yourself open for the takedown. So definitely, we're going to be looking at that. But aside from that, I'm not just a wrestler. I'm looking to show my entire game, and we are going for the finish, emphatic finish. Whether that's on the feet or on the ground, we will see how it plays out. And with that emphatic finish, I think it sets us up for a big fight on the back end.
Now you used perfectly. You mentioned talk about being, you showing your complete game because you've only been in the sport 5 years, which is still not a very long time to be in any professional sport. As you continue to evolve as an MMA fighter, where technically would you like to grow your game more? Where do you feel the areas that you've improved the most? Where do you feel you still need to improve?
Yeah, that I have. With my coaches, every time we compete. In camp we make jumps. In the fight we show different wrinkles. And we look at what we've done well, what we want to continue to improve on, and that's how we dissect my game. So it's about being a complete martial artist. Be able to fight everywhere, use all eight limbs in the stand-up from both stances. Be able to take guys down, subs, ground and pound, what have you. That is to be the perfect fighter is always the goal, and we're always working towards that.
This will be your first, from what I can tell, long-distance piece of business inside the cage. Now, how long is your trip supposed to be, going to Tokyo? Is there a specific preparation you need to do? I don't know if you're on the west coast of the continent or the east coast. I don't know if it's easier or tougher for you. And also, is long-distance travel not maybe a big deal for a heavyweight since you're probably not cutting much weight, so you don't have to worry about dieting and all this kind of stuff. Is this more of an enjoyable thing to be in heavyweight and go long distance?
It's definitely more enjoyable to be able to not cut weight. In terms of long distance, that doesn't matter. We have our routine. Like I said, I've competed in over 30 different countries around the world. I have a process I go through, at different time zones, and that type of stuff doesn't really affect me as much. But I know what my body needs, so we'll get over there. I arrive on the 9th, get in a couple workouts, and go out there and compete.
How long? I'm sorry if I didn't hear you. How long is the actual hours long? Your actual flight out there?
10 hours.
10. Okay. Now I was going to ask. You already got the answer from me anyway. I was going to ask if Tokyo was on your bucket list. You already told me it is on your bucket list. What is it about Tokyo? What is it about Japan that that's I too would like to visit? What is it for you that you've always longed to visit Japan?
Well, they're celebrating World Martial Arts Week there before the event for a reason. It's the inaugural event that one will be celebrating, Fan Fest, all that kind of stuff. And it makes sense. Martial arts has a long, storied history there, MMA in particular. Wrestling, obviously, a lot of accomplished wrestlers there. Pro wrestling, New Japan, pro wrestling is a big deal. Sumo's a big deal. So all of that stuff's right up my alley. I love all of that. And Japan, as a people, very respectful, a lot of, honorable, aligned with the one values. And aside from that, very innovative country, innovative people. And I just want to be able to go experience that and see the people, the culture, and be able to compete and put my own chapter in that long storied history of martial arts within the country.
Now, you've mentioned wrestling a couple of times, which you're a man at my own heart, a MMA fighter who also loves professional wrestling. So you mentioned AEW, you mentioned New Japan. What is your interest in professional wrestling? Are you a longtime fan? Are you still following? Were you watching AEW and NXT last night? What's your fandom of professional wrestling?
Absolutely, I was Wednesday Night Wars. And I've seen that.
Which one did you watch first? Or did you go old school and then go back and forth?
No, All Elite for sure. That's the new product. You have to take a peek.
All right.
What New Kids on the Block have, right? And it was phenomenal. The numbers came in, and they're over 1 million when people were thinking they're going to do around 500,000-600,000. They doubled in terms of the 18 to 40 demographic. They it's safe to say they won. They won the first fight, if you will. It's a long, prolonged battle to win the war. And then the WWE kind of released that in their statement, saying it's not a sprint. Well played. It's good for the fans. It's good for the industry. More than anything, it's cool that they're actually, it's not an elephant in the room. They're both, and letting the other know that, hey, they're speaking on it, right? They're not avoiding the question that the other doesn't exist and such. But it's a new era. I'm very intrigued because when the Attitude Era came out, that helped them get over on WCW. It wasn't a public traded company, the WWE.
Right.
How they are. So there's, it's going to be interesting. It's not the same dynamics in play. You got the whole, Rhodes family over at All Elite, obviously. But their dad helped start NXT over at WWE. Dusty did. So many different layers and storylines. I'm just excited to kind of see it all play out.
Do you feel Monday Night Raw has been better since Paul Heyman took over in creative control?
Absolutely. Just the whole show in general this last Monday.
Yeah.
With the Pirates, so like I said, better product. Competition's always good within MMA, pro wrestling, and anything in life. Everyone's steps up an extra notch,
Now, I mean, you're mentioning a lot of AEW. AEW won championship both on TNT. I mean, crossover makes sense. We just saw Jack Swagger, MMA fighter. In are we trying to get work the foot in the door a little bit with AEW? Is that what we're looking for?
We will see. Watching the WWE, being excited about that. A lot of history in that company. But All Elite, like you said, it's on TNT, same platform. A lot of crossover appeal potentially there. Kenny Omega came out with a shirt, the one championship shirt, when he debuted last night. So it's exciting times. Good to have options. Definitely something I look to explore after this fight. But task at hand is moral surveillance.
Interesting. All right. Now, one has been fairly mysterious when it comes to weigh-ins or drug testing. Their lack of transparency has been a bit of an issue for media here in the West. What are your thoughts on stuff like that? And from your experience, because you've been to a few events from what I know, do you feel it may be something that's overblown?
The weigh-ins, I believe so, because the weigh-ins were completely public. I went through it. There's a hydration test. It's public there. What the numbers are. There's nothing hidden in that I saw. The scales right there. All the athletes, all the coaches, whomever. It was all public to me, and it's a phenomenal way to go about it. The hydration test to make sure athletes are safe. You're not having people pass out and missing, weight in terms of missing not the event not going through.
Yeah.
So fighter safety, I love it, and my experience with it was A+. In terms of the drug testing, I haven't gone through that yet. Obviously, I haven't been able to fight, but I have a very strong opinion in this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have random year-round testing for it to be effective at all.
Right.
It's just my opinion of it, and even then, there's so many ways to script the USADA system. Even it's much like the Olympic system, where stuff gets out of your system so quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you have three opportunities before you get an actual for your whereabouts. So if it's not random and it's not year round, it's not real in my opinion. If you're telling them, you're going to be tested on this date, and it's sort of the honor system, you know what I mean, and you're able to cycle off. That's Bellator is the same. All these other companies that don't have year-round random
Mm-hmm.
are in the same boat, in my opinion. But that's just that's the nature of the beast. And you sign up and you make sure you clean yourself and you go compete and you go to break them.
Now, Michael Schiavone, like I mentioned, talked to him a little bit about you before previously, has told me the plan is for one to have an event in India next year. If you have an impressive debut, maybe a second win before then, you could very well be headlining that event. An Indian fighter at heavyweight that is a top talent makes a lot of sense for that event. Now, plus, maybe 2 impressive wins gets you into a title shot. That would be a perfect scenario for one. That'd be the best thing possible. Does that add any more pressure to this debut and even future fights? Because, what a moment that could be. You main eventing or just even being on that card. Do you feel any added pressure, with something like that, in the distance to think about?
It's a part of the plan, man. That's why we signed up. That was all envisioned before. It's what excites me. It's not pressure. That's what I signed up for, to make that a reality. To headline India, to main event there, open up the market, have gold around my waist, and it's all doable within the next 12 months. I'm excited for that. It'll be a huge part of my legacy in terms of what I've been able to do for other athletes and opening up that market, but also to be a world champion and put that gold around my waist. I can literally accomplish all of that in the next 12 months. I wouldn't ask for anything else in terms of opportunity in life. As an athlete, that's all you can ask for is an opportunity, and it's up to me now to go make it happen.
Now, an interesting thing with one, and I get why they do it. For example, they love to have their fighters represent a specific region. For example, like the Angela Lee and Christian Lee, they I believe born in Canada, raised in Hawaii, but they represent Singapore, and I get it because that's where the market is. Now, for you, obviously you're going to represent India, but you also did the same in UFC too. Talk to me about that, because from what I found, you were born and raised in Canada, so a lot of people are going to look at you as Canadian. But talk to me about why you have such strong ties to India and want to represent India, and why it's such an important thing for you. And it's not a stretch for you to do it in one. It's something you've been doing for a long time.
Yeah, you will see with this platform. My story is very much an Indian story. Born and raised in Canada for sure. Family came here for an opportunity for a better future for their kids. I'm a byproduct of that. And I want to give thanks to the country, to the homeland where we come from, our roots, as my give back. And here's an open door now for kids back there to walk through into the MMA world, much like I've had the opportunity to do out here. I go back to India yearly, have been since I was a kid. We have family out there still. Wrestling lineage, obviously. Wrestling's the biggest sport back home. All of those things. It's I speak the language, I eat the food, I'm immersed in the culture. It's not a stretch at all.
Right.
And I can't wait to kind of show that through the One Championship platform. We're not making up a story here. yes, I'm born in Canada, but I'm proud to be who I am.
Perfect. Now, we I always like to end these conversations learning a little bit more about the person aside from the fight. Now, we really love you. Already know you have a deep love for professional wrestling. What are some of the other things that you like to do with your free time? I heard you have a kid in the background, a guy family, got kids take up a lot of time. So aside from kids, aside from fighting, aside from wrestling, what are some of your personal passions? I've had a lot of fighters tell me interesting things. I've heard cooking, origami, video games, comic books, Netflix. What is the things you like to do to just defuse away from things?
One of the things I'm excited for, I'm a big sushi guy. I'm excited can and try that sushi out there. I like my pastas and pizzas and carbs in that regard. I remember going to Italy for the first time and being disappointed.
Really?
Do it better out here. It's different. You load up the pizza with multiple different toppings. Out there, it's more just one topping type
and it's
of thing.
thin too, right?
Yeah. So it wasn't the same, and I hope I'm not disappointed with the sushi. I've been told the sushi's phenomenal in Tokyo, so I've already picked out a couple places I'm going to hit once I get there, and that's what I'm most excited about.